the presence of another gives strength. It gives us a desire to go on. Because he could trust him, right? He's the one person who's called a friend. Because he could trust him.
No, your essence is good, and I love your essence, and nothing...
That's exactly, yeah. Dover is a thing. No, it's not dependent on a thing.
Beautiful. Welcome to the latest edition of our life discussion about trying to get ourselves and our children and the ones we love to a better place. Rabbi Greenwald, friendship. Such a major area in our lives, such a huge impact on each one of us as people. And let's say if we a little bit take it to the place of parenting also, parents are so concerned, they want their kids to have good friends, positive influences, good friends, and they're very concerned that their kids don't have such good friends. Could you give us like more of a broader picture? What role is the friendship meant to play? What constitutes a good friend or not a good friend? It's true about our kids, and it's also true about ourselves.
It's a tall order here. Let's try to step back a little. And it's a Mishnah, Kanei lecha chaver, acquire for yourself a friend. So, Pirkei Avos telling us that we need to acquire a friend. Rabbeinu Yonah has a very direct take on what the friends are. He says, you need a friend for three things. And this is going to sound like very religious. You need a friend to learn Torah. You need a friend to do mitzvahs. And you need a friend who's a shoulder for you to lean on. And I want to expand it and kind of universalize it a little bit because he's talking about in terms of avoda, but I want to first talk about it in terms of human condition.
Nice.
So, okay, with a friend, I can learn Torah, I can acquire wisdom. I become wiser from having another opinion, having somebody I could bounce things off, somebody who makes me see something that's different than I might have thought about before. It's kind of to break new ground in my
thought process,
in how I think and how I view the world, in how I move forward in the world. Then he says to do mitzvahs, and very interesting. He says, you know what? Because you and your friend, you have certain desire to do something that might not be a good idea. Your friend might have a desire to do something that's not a good idea. Your friend and you don't necessarily want the exact same thing. So when you want to do something that's going off course, your friend can call you out. And when your friend wants to do something that's going to take him off course, you can call him out. And the beauty of that, it's so interesting. In other words, not that, no, you hypocrite, you did X, and you're telling me not to do Y. No. What the friend is the person who could help you get on course. And what you are as a friend is the person who could help him get on course. The third thing is about trust. About somebody you can trust. Somebody who won't reveal your secrets. Somebody who you can tell things to without fear of being judged in a negative way. That he'll accept that this is what's going on for you. That's the 3 bullet points. Let's take it. Let's take it a little bit like
Develop
into life.
each one of them.
Yeah, well, let's take it a little bit into life. So my friend, a kid comes home. His friend is making fun of him.
Ouch.
Very common. Well, one second. What makes him your friend? What even makes a person a friend? So if I would kind of like expand the concepts of that we spoke about, my friend wants what's good for me. If somebody wants what's good for him, so he's not necessarily my friend. If he'll benefit and I'll lose, so where's the friendship? He's making fun of me, he feels better, I feel worse. Friendship is meant to start as a win-win proposition. I'm bringing something to the table that you don't have. You're bringing something to the table that I don't have, but we're adding it to each other. we are looking out for the interest of another in a way that I also look out for the interest of myself. If we take it back even further, you have a pasuk, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your friend like yourself. The Ramban says that's impossible. That's impossible. And he says it's not even the halacha. Sometimes it's something we call a zero-sum game. Zero-sum game is only one winner and one loser. You only have one bottle of water, two people in the desert. We paskin lahalacha that you have to keep your bottle for yourself. So that means, one second, what about kamocha? Mm-hmm. Maybe we should just die together? Mm-hmm. No. And when there's a zero-sum game, that there can only be one person surviving, you have an achrayus to yourself to keep yourself alive. Mm-hmm. But he says, the Ramban, that it means that I want for my friend what I want for myself. Now that means I don't have wealth, and I want it, but I still am happy for my friend if he achieves that wealth. I want for him what I want for myself. Not necessarily at the expense to myself that now I won't have it and he will. Although there are friends, of course, who do things like that. But let's just talk about what the definition. Mm-hmm. I want what's good for him. And I'm not jealous when he has something and I don't. He said, that's manageable. He says, other things it isn't manageable. This is what it means when it says, love him like yourself. What you want for yourself, you want for him. What's good for him. So a friend is somebody that I know has my interests in mind. Now, there are different kinds of things we call friendship. And Rambam speaks about that in his Parashat Mishnayos. He says there's friends who are friends for to'elas, for a benefit that will come out of the friendship. We're in business together. So if you profit, I profit. If I profit, you profit. It's a type of relationship. There's an officer and there's his soldiers. There's a boss and his workers. They can have a friendship. They're working towards a goal together. And when one benefits, technically the other one should. My grandfather had a business. My uncle today runs it. And they used to call my grandfather's name was Avram Aaron. They called him Honest Abe. That was what his workers, non-Jewish workers, called him, Honest Abe. Wow. Because he had a policy. There's no such thing as a bonus. When the company is doing better, everybody does better. When the company is doing worse, everybody tightens their belt. When the truck would come in with the steel, it was a steel yard that needed to be unloaded, cold day, he'd go out there with them and unload the steel. So we're here for a benefit. We're all going to try to benefit together. We're working together towards this thing. That's a friendship of sorts, but it's really based on the common profit, the business,
it's more of a logistical arrangement than a
But that's a chaber hatoelas, right? There's a benefit. Right. And don't mistake that one for that one.
Right.
They're not the same. There's a friend, a nachas, I enjoy spending time with the person. It says a man and a woman. There's a natural desire for them to connect to each other. That natural desire is also a type of friendship.
This is the second type of friend that Rambam speaks
about?
Yeah,
he calls it the chaver nachas. And that's the bad. In other words,
enjoying each other's company.
We enjoy each other's company. We enjoy being with each other. We enjoy each other, not just,
the things that get done.
Right. And then he says there's a higher level even of friendship, and that's when people are united in a single cause that's beneficial for both of them, and the cause is above them. Wisdom, Torah, you call it serving Hashem, filling the world with light, and that's so there's different types of things that we call friends, and the different relationships. The friend between a parent and child, actually the friendship between, that's something that can be discussed. The friendship between spouses, the friendship between chavrusas. How important is a friend? The Rambam says, like Choni Amagol said, O chavrusa, O misusa. Mm-hmm. If I don't have somebody who can share my interests and share my goals and share my deep things with, Hashem, take me, I've lived long enough.
like loneliness is one of the most painful things.
Yeah, and so normally when we learn about it, so yes, the importance of Torah if he doesn't have a charusa for Torah, but the Rambam is saying this as a rule about friendship. And he's saying just isolation, how difficult, okay, that's the extreme, but isolation is so extreme that people prefer very often death to isolation. Now, I just to separate, we're saying a lot of things here, but I want to separate between isolation and solitude. Sometimes a person spends time in his own company and he has time to reflect and to think, etc. Right? That's not isolation. Healthy. That's solitude. Right. Yeah, there was a great insult, I think, that Winston Churchill once said about somebody. He deprives you of solitude without providing you with companionship. Something along those lines, right? Yeah. Right. So anyway, okay. So friendship, critical for our moving forward in life. Like we said, for all these different things that friends do, and the Rambam quotes Aristotle, and so he's talking about a universal type of wisdom, and he says how good are his words. That the other friend is you. In other words, when I'm a friend to somebody, what kind of friend am I will also determine perhaps what kind of friends they will be to me. My trust.
My being there for them.
My being there for them.
Supportive.
Yeah. So now, we ourselves have to actually kind of look at the relationships. Is there a mismatch going on over here? Am I the one always chasing this person?
Like my part in the friendship could be altruistic and giving and wanting to help him. Like I think even sometimes like all three. There's a little bit of the chaver toelis, a little bit of the chaver nachas, a little bit of the I don't know if you give it a name. Chaver amayla, like and like sometimes the other person is not healthy enough or not interested enough, maybe, to be reciprocative to that.
Yeah. And that's really painful. And that's the hardest for a kid who feels left out of a group. And I mean, it's so painful.
Wow.
For all the kids have a secret and this kid's not in on it. Or they all have a joke and this kid's not in it. And he's trying to get into the group and he can't get into the group.
Over the years in yeshiva, like I've heard stories like this. It's so, I don't know, every time it's so, I guess, fascinating to me how intense the pain. Like a boy told me he wanted to go to a basketball game with his friends and they said, no, we're not interested in going. And then afterwards he found out that they all went without him. They just didn't want him to come along. He was like so broken and so hurt and so, like the feeling of rejection.
Yeah, and he feels that, they're not really, so they're not really his friends.
Why is it, I don't know if that's part of this discussion, why is it that he's so, like I would think, okay, well, if they don't want to be your friend, I don't want to be your friend either.
So here's a fascinating thing. It says in the pasuk, in the Mishnah, Kinei lecha chaver, acquire for yourself for a friend. That means sometimes you have to chase a person to be a friend. That's actually part of the thing. I got to acquire him. I got to go out there. We show him, say, spend money sometimes. That because this person who is beneficial for you,
it's like so important to have.
You should even spend money on it. Right. You can't buy a friendship, but you can spend money to acquire one. And even that's called admirable. Now, is that the friend to deprive you of solitude or the friend to grow with? To deprive you, of isolation or to grow with, right? Because it's hard when a person is needy and sometimes a person doesn't feel that they can respond to that
very
neediness.
Often that's what
so complicated.
Creates rejection. If people feel you're very needy.
So complicated. You need me more than I need you.
Right.
And it's so complicated. And sometimes we do need a friend more than they need us. And sometimes our friends need us more than we need them. And that's just part of friendship, is that it's not always going to be 50-50. But this is part of what makes it so difficult, because on the one hand we should be pursuing a friend that we think is worthwhile to be a friend with, whether it's a good chavrusa, whether it's I want to be part of a good chevra of people who are moving in a good direction. These are such critical things for our life, because even if we don't want to do it just because other people are doing it, the fact is that when there's a current moving in a certain direction and we want to be in that direction, that current can be very helpful for us.
Right. To me, I think like the way it struck me, the word of Knei Licha Chaver, the word that, I don't know, sits well with me is investing in making the friendship strong, meaningful, really. Like a lot of things in the world, they mean to you as much as you make them mean to you. How beautiful Shabbos is going to be to you. As much as you make it be beautiful, I don't know. So this, like, in the Knei Licha Chaver means that don't just allow friendships that sort of are there and they have a positive element to give you, don't just let them like sort of, be what they are. Like, yeah, I know this guy and he's a good guy. Like, no, like do something to make that like a deep, meaningful acquisition. Make sure to spend time together, ask the guy to learn with you after Shacharis, go over to discuss questions with him, like make the friendship be a powerful part of your life.
We're saying how important that is. When the kid doesn't have that, what does that also bring up for me as a parent? Even if I have good friends, but if I was rejected somewhere along the way and it was painful and it was embarrassing and they were making fun of me, and then I see my kid going through that, you go through the roof and the first thing you want to do is you want to go beat up the father or that other kid or go yell at the mother or scream or go to the teacher. And sometimes you need to if kids being bullied or I'm not getting rid of all that. I'm just saying but what does it bring up in me? Like I can't even be wise about this because I am so worked up about this. It's so difficult for me as a parent to see my kid struggling with a friendship. And why? Well, I might have experienced that in my own life and that'll make it, really hard. And it takes a while to develop the wisdom to be able to say, well, this person really doesn't want what's good for me. So they're not really your friend. They might not want what's good for anybody. A lot of the things that are called friendships in school, the cliques that develop, boys, girls, different ages, is just the people who are kind of propping each other up. There's not really necessarily an area of growth together, but it's like,
what I get out of being friends with you.
Yeah, and who's the popular one in the group? And we want to, hang out with the popular one and the cool one and the, whatever it is. And so then you have a kid who's like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm not interested in this. None of these people are friends. Sometimes that kid has so much more depth and so much more to offer in terms of a friendship. And they don't just find friendship by just being sociable. They need someone that they can actually speak to, and they worry. I remember my son came home from school. He was maybe 7 years old, 8 years old. I'm going to try not to cry on camera. And he came home. Thank you, Rabbi. And he says to me, "There's a kid in his class who had diabetes, and he had a pump, and there was a wire sticking out of the kid's pocket." And a little device in his pocket. And the Rebbe was walking around the classroom, and he sees this kid with like a phone-looking device in his pocket and rips it out of the kid's pocket. And it was his diabetes pump, his insulin pump. And the kid starts to cry, and the kid starts to it made a whole matziv, and the Rebbe realizes like, what is this? Mm-hmm. He's like, it's because of my condition, all right, they called the parents. They worked it out. However, they worked it out. My kid came home. He told me a story. He was crying, and I said to him, he felt so bad for the boy and so bad what had happened. I said, you want to call him and ask him how he's doing? He said, yeah. So let's say the other kid's name was, we'll just call him, Moshe Gold, right? Okay. So he calls him up. He's like, the kid, he answers, the parent answers the phone. He said, Moshe nimtza, is Moshe there? Yeah. He's like, Gold, Ken, ata beseder? Ken? Yofi, shalom. That was his conversation. That was a tremendous emotional expression from this boy who was literally crying about the hardship that he saw his friend go through and what his friend must have been feeling. Ken, Tov, Yofi.
Hung up the phone. Girls that decided to discuss the situation. 2 hours later.
2 hours later, and they never even talked about what happened. Right? But so this was an act of real friendship. I'm worried about how my friend is doing. I care about you. Whatever. It doesn't mean, that every interaction, takes on that form. But in other words, that's the underlying thing of friendship is I'm concerned about the well-being of another. And I think like that's the first thing of like when we talk about what's friendship. Yeah, that as I worry about myself and I want someone else to worry about me, I also am concerned about him.
Beautiful. I have another thing that in my mind always was such a big part of a friendship and such an important part of a friendship, which Shiva didn't mention yet, but what about having, maybe it's even two separate elements, but having someone that like really believes in me. Like when I make a mistake and I'm feeling like, like I messed up and someone says, no, you're going to do it. It's okay. You got it. Like someone that truly believes in me and he's there to support me when I'm feeling down. Number one. Number two, there's also, I think, such a big part of our lives as human beings that we crave just to be understood. Like I think the word of like, Oy chavrusa misusa, I have a great word in the sugya, and I want to share it with someone, and like
there's nobody to share with.
Yeah, like nobody gets you, like to a Talmud Chacham, like his word in the sugya. But I think every human being, whatever it is that's my life, that means to me, I need someone to share it with. Like if the husband comes in and he tells her, like, I can't believe it, they lost the game, 18 innings, the Blue Jays lost. Like you don't know about these things, but the world record for the longest baseball game and the thing. But and he's so frustrated. And the wife says, "Oh, just a stupid game." Like hello, like to him, it's not just a stupid game. There's something about, being there, like just empathizing and feeling for you. And I think that's part of being a good friend. Really forces us to become a little bit bigger than ourselves, also, because there's always going to be something that they care about or concerned about that I need to like. I think that's the Hashem Agdula, that Hashem is big, is Midas HaChesed also. Like it's appreciating your needs. I'm not going to do for you what I would want. I'm going to do.
Yeah,
for you.
very important. Very important. I think that I maybe didn't even say it out in the Rambam. He says that there's such a situation. He says, first of all, he calls it a chaver bitachon, a friend of security. Hu sheyehelo adam chaver, he should have a friend. Shedaito someches lov. This is the Rambam, that his mind relies on him. He doesn't hide from him. He doesn't hide his actions or his speech, and he speaks to him truly about what's going on, what's good for him, and what's bad, without being afraid that it'll bring him disgrace. And not through another, meaning he won't share his secret. And when a person has this trust in another person, that he has nachas rav me'od b'sichoso v'yedidusa. He has great nachas just in this connection. And this, so really, part of that is that the person, I can rely on him when I'm down, that he wants me to be up. This also is part of what it means to be worried about my well-being. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes a person, the friendship just is that this person always picks me up. And that's a very big weight for the other person.
Like I carry that cries of making sure you're
right. My mood, your mood is dependent on
codependency.
Or a symbiotic relationship, however it is. Like your mood depends on our relationship. That's like that's a hard burden
it's
sometimes.
Extreme and it's like consistent.
It could be a hard burden for a friend. But anyway, so getting back to it, so when we're talking to a kid about a friend, and we talk about sometimes with the child, like what makes a friend. And the child at different ages is far more, the questions make them wiser. In other words, so what makes him your friend? Oh, we play together. Oh, you like playing with him? Yeah. He plays nicely with you? Does he share with you? Do you share with him? In other words, there's so much happening, like in their, they have a very rich world, children. And, they don't always know how to unpack it. But if something's happening between him and a friend, like what does he like about this friend? Well, he likes about the friend has a certain toy. Yeah, so he doesn't really like the friend, he likes the toy that the friend has, So I think that part of the awareness that we're trying to get is, okay, like what what do these friends? What is happening with me? Yeah, what's happening with me and my friends? What's happening with him and his friends? What's happening with her and her friends? What is the friendship? And the first rule is, if they're not nice to you, well, they're not being your friend right now. If they're usually nice to you, it's okay. So now your friend is not being so nice. Okay, that could happen. But usually, if a person is not being nice to you, so why?
That's a very ongoing kind of thing.
Yeah. Why? What exactly is making us friends? Mm-hmm. Further to that idea of the friend being someone who is nice to you.
Respects
one kid
you,
says something to another kid that's hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
I was just joking.
Mm-hmm.
This is not just friends, this is siblings. And there's no better friend than a sibling if
things work right.
When things work right, there's no better friend. It does say a close friend could be better than a distant brother, but
that's because he's distant.
That's just because he's not there.
Right.
But a friend, so you have one kid is saying something, and the friend is crying, and he's always joking. It's just, you can't take a joke. You can't take a joke. So how are you dealing with this? What happened over here? There's an education component over here. A joke is funny if both sides are laughing. It's not funny when one side is laughing and the other side is wounded. That's not a joke. That's an insult. Rav Hutner has this beautiful mimer about the difference between laughing with and laughing at.
Ouch.
Right? One laughter is complete connection. The other is laughing at is complete
disconnection.
Devaluing, scorn. You're mocking. We're not on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, we fall into that. We tease somebody that we care about and whatever, and that person is insulted. And really, we thought we were being loving and friendly, but it wasn't being taken that way. So that's not an act of love and friendship, even if you meant it as one.
Right.
But now the other person is hurt.
It's very often, it's dangerous, because you could say the same type of joke to someone, and 9 times out of 10, he'll laugh with you, because it's good nature, just, between the boys, or kibitzing around. But one time he's having a hard day, or something earlier is making him feel insecure, and then that same comment, or the same type of comment on that day, really hurts.
Right.
Like, there's a thing of, like you're crushing him, breaking him, and
right.
Like the sensitivity that it's better to be careful, because you never know. I've been on the receiving end of such things.
Right, I
know when people used to tease me, and it was funny. And like one time, I'm having a hard day, and the same comment could really hurt.
It could really hurt, yeah.
I think that's also, though, it's part of coming not from an external place that you have to say nice things. It's part of like feeling for the other person. When I'm a chaver, I'm a chibur, I'm connected to you, and I feel your inner world. It's not just what I'm supposed to say, not supposed to say. I feel for your happiness when I made you happy, and I feel your pain if I said something that hurts you. It's training them to be...
I was going to say, I think it's not a large percentage of the population who are naturally or at a very young age so empathetic. It exists. Call it whatever percentage you want. It's 10%, it's 20%, it's 30%.
That, right?
I don't think it's that high who are naturally empathetic.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a quality that's developed through conversation and through, wow, so how did it feel when that happened? Did you feel happy? Sometimes you have to lead them. Sometimes, obviously, if you don't have to lead them, is better. When somebody says something like that to you, how do you feel?
Mm-hmm.
And kids are smart. Like, they'll pick it up, and then it's like, oh yeah, he's feeling bad, just like I would feel bad. Okay, okay, he's listening.
But it's at least
they're
noticing.
He's getting some information,
right.
On the subject.
I think it's also true the other side of it. When they did something that was helpful, even helping at home, like someone helped mommy, like pointing out to them, like, Mommy was so relaxed and happy because you helped. Like, they should be in touch with the fact that there's a certain joy here that someone they care about. They
always catch them doing things right.
Mm-hmm.
Always catch them doing things right. That's so important. You're right.
But I meant more than just
being
catching
a good friend. To
point out to them the end result. Again, to see what it created between them. It's not just you did something good, but now mommy's happy. You helped, and mommy had such a long, hard day, and she was able to sit on the couch and relax, and everything was done. She was able to be calm. It's like helping them notice and be sensitive to the feelings that created, or chas v'shon, forget if they hurt someone's feelings. Like, I don't have to punish you. with an external thing, like your brother is crying now. Like you made him sad. Isn't it sad that he's sad? Just to sometimes.
Sometimes I really doesn't want to be sad because the competition, that this is
okay.
But you're right.
Which is its own conversation.
Yeah. You're
how to
right.
prevent that? How to prevent it?
How to develop that?
Right.
But yeah, so I think that one of the things about the kid having the friend is that the kid you're teaching him, like, what does it mean to be a good friend, and what does it mean, how is it? So sometimes suggestion, we're going somewhere. Would you like to call a friend to come along?
That's beautiful.
Besides the fact that it can also take some pressure off parents when the kid has other entertainment. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you want to just spend time with the child. Right. Of course, that's its own thing. But we're going somewhere. We have an extra space in the car. We have an extra space in the bus, whatever it is. Call a friend to come along. Mm-hmm. So then, you're teaching the child that the good things you have are things that you share. You share. You're not telling him to share. Mm-hmm. You're just teaching him that it's better. It's just better to have another one with you. Mm-hmm. And so helping the child develop it. And sometimes but what if he says no? If he says no, he'll lose out. Child could be afraid of that rejection. It's always, we don't usually get to do it just in one shot. Sometimes there are things that take steps, but if the child does and they have a good time together, that's great. And then also you can kind of control. Why don't you invite this one? And, you don't even have to say anything about the other one.
Right.
Why don't you invite so and so?
The more positive friendships.
Yeah, somebody that you think is good for them, or somebody, and that's very practical. You didn't kind of.
You didn't have to take away the bad. You just
you didn't have to. Yeah. So.
Develop.
And then, again, being a good friend is also something which is developed. It's a learning process, like everything else. Hopefully, we could be, we become wiser about our friends, we become wiser about their needs, we're not age specific over here. Like, this is at all ages. This process, but there's this mitzvah of being like mevaker chola. We visit, we come to see a person who's ill. Now, it's not supposed to be visit, there's a whole discussion, it's much more than visiting, it's checking up on him, mivakers, to investigate, to make light, to see where the person's needs are. Fine. The presence of another gives strength, it gives comfort. It gives us a desire to go on.
Somebody cares about me. There's famous studies they did with sick people in the hospital. Pictures on the walls from the grandchildren, people calling up to find out how they're doing. The exact same medical condition.
During my illness, I could look at a video that my kids sent me for my birthday with the grandkids and I could watch it on a hard day where the pain was very bad. I could watch it 20 times. Wow. Over and over and over. It's not exactly friendship, but it is. It's the human connection at the closest level, of course. At the closest level.
Yeah.
And so, I think that helping the children develop a perspective of how to be a good friend. Am I looking for the other's benefit? Are there things that we do together that we enjoy each other? Are there things that we do to each other? And helping them differentiate. Mm-hmm. We love playing baseball together. That doesn't mean that we have to, spend time together sharing secrets. That could be enough of a friendship.
It's just social interaction with people that you enjoy being with. That's sort of like a chaver to'eles kind of thing. Just doing activities together. I don't feel alone. I don't like people to share life with them.
That's right.
Can I tell you a story? It's a tiny incident, but I don't know, sometimes there's moments where just something like solidifies for you. One of my sons plays tackle football. More than one, but one of my sons plays tackle football. And it was a winter night, they were having a big game. And me and my other sons were going to the game also. And it was freezing cold, and it was pouring rain, and we didn't have an umbrella, and I don't know, the car wasn't available. We took a bus, and we were walking, and it was...
Serious nefesh!
So that's so one of my sons said, Tati, what are we doing this for? I'm doing just for a football game, to get drenched and freezing cold? And it just popped out of me. I said, no, you're not doing this for a football game. You're doing this for your brother. And that was a beautiful moment. Like we're here for each other. For him, it's exciting. He's playing a game and he wants to win, and whatever he wants. And we share life together with each other. And it was a really special moment.
Yeah. The Gemara says a person comes to be Menachem Ovel, Leolena. And it says, Igrid the Beitamya, the schar of coming to this house of mourning, Shtikusa is quiet. You're just there. In fact, in Halacha, when a person visits an Ovel, until the Ovel starts talking, the visitor is not supposed to talk. And he can start talking only if the Ovel is talking. Mm-hmm. So what's he doing? He went there, he stayed for 15 minutes, didn't say a word, just sat there. On the way out, I'm assuming he was allowed to be Menachem to say Hamoka Menachem Esam. I'm assuming he's able to do that. That's all he did, and that's it. There's a nichum in that. There is a comfort in that. Person is there for me.
Wow. I also I'm sharing once the Shiva went there. I love what you said. I think there's also an element when a person is sitting Shiva, which I did both for my mother and my father. There's so much going on inside of us. You don't know what's churning inside and what he feels he needs to share. So you could by asking questions, so how old was he? Who was there the day he died? Or whatever, even if you ask more meaningful questions, like which yeshiva did he learn it? But the Avel needs this experience to get out what's on his mind, what he's thinking about. Here for you means I don't want to distract you from where your thoughts are taking you, and I'm here to listen to you. And with that, once you start talking about your childhood or the beautiful Chalamoy trips you went on, so great. So I'll add something to that and help bring it out more for you and appreciate it with you.
The Avo could just say, "Thank you for coming," and then you could ask any question that you could say. You could say, "How old was he?" Mm-hmm. And I was once in a house where how old was he was the question. Mm-hmm. Rav Yonis and David was being Menachem Ovel, a good friend of mine, mm-hmm. and he and this friend is a very, very bright, creative, brilliant guy with a very. He's always sharing interesting ideas, very challenging type of thing, and so Rav Yonis said, "How old was he?" And he said, he says, "It seems to be the question that everybody is asking me." And he was challenging, really. So I'm how relevant is this to relevant is this to the question? Mm-hmm. I'd love to hear. And Rav Yonason said, part of the picture of a person's life is how long he lived, and trying to understand who the person was. His life plays a very big role in that. The amount of years that he had plays a role.
Right. It's not a nosy question.
It's not a nosy question. It's part of gathering the picture of who you're mourning and what you're mourning.
I have an aspect of friendship that I'm curious about, and I'd love to hear if you could shed some light on it, because I think there's something big buried in it, and I don't got it yet, the handle on it. As a person goes through life, we have friends that fade in and fade out. They're very environmental. Your neighbors and you move somewhere else, or your friends from work and then you get a different job, and so on and so forth. Somehow there's some friends that stay with you throughout life. I have a friend now that I still keep up with. That's my friend since first grade. And we still talk very often, and we have every time he comes to Israel, he calls me up, and I don't know about every time. Maybe came sometimes I didn't know about, but for sure most of the time. So there's certain friendships that are, a lot of boys in yeshiva, I would say, the friends they made in yeshiva are friends What is it about a certain friendship that makes it so much more intense?
Enduring.
Enduring, yeah. Well, the endurance is the reflection of the fact that it's deeper in the first place, I think.
Like you said, proximity. They did some kind of study. People described their best friend. I don't remember what the number was. I'm going to make up a number. 87.3% of all statistics are made up on the spot. So, okay. So 80% of the friends were people who they lived in close proximity to. Uh-huh. And that was just because they saw each other in and out. But it's not enough in and of itself, but it does have meaning, because just being around the person and spending the time, so there's a certain...
creates a level of connection.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, if we go back to what we said, the Chaver HaBitachon, the friend of security, our cameraman pointed out that there is one person in the entire Chamisha Chumshei Torah who is described as a friend. And that's Yehuda's friend, the Adulami.
Wow.
And Yehuda has a potentially scandalous situation, and he sends the payment to, he didn't know it was Tamar, but he spends the payment to the woman that he had the liaison with, and he sends this lamb, this sheep, with his friend. Because he could trust him, right? He's the one person who's called a friend. Because he could trust him. And a friend that you could trust, that's a real friend. Okay, so that friendship is that friendship of trust. You hear that these people, brothers in arms, people who serve together in the army, and they risk their lives for each other. So there's something very, very deep that they can be trusted, and they went through very difficult situations together, and they propped each other up in the course of those situations. And those people, on some level, are friends for life. Now, they might not be in touch with them all the time. They might rarely see them. But when they do, they can just pick up like none of the intervening years had been there. There's just such a connection. So that connection could be that they really put themselves out for each other. It could be a different level of connection that, is not even measurable, it's not tangible, but something about, each other, really connected them. Boys in yeshiva, sometimes their friends are people they went through this growth process, even a transformational process, together. And the things that bound them together, and this is what we would call the chaver, the highest level, the chaver hamayla, what bound us together is something bigger than us that we're still connected to. And because of that, our connection to that is together with them. Fascinating idea that the Sridei Eish, they put out a Haggadah with stories about it. He says when a person separates from his friend, he's supposed to separate from a Dvar Halacha. He says, why? That's how you remember him. So the way we understand it generally is every time I think of Halacha, I think of my friend. He says, you're parting from a real friend. It's painful. Are you going to let that pain be what defines your relationship? Or are you going to take that moment and share something meaningful together? And then that parting has been turned into, that bad experience has been turned into something that you together hold as valuable and precious. And it maintains a relationship going forward. So, people could sometimes be friends for very, very many years, together, not together. But there's something that's holding them together, some kind of experience. Or some kind of shared experience, some kind of shared journey that really has connected them in very deep places that are much more meaningful than which team, do you follow? And there are some people that's as deep as it goes. Right. So maybe then their friends are friends for life because they went to the baseball game together, the football game together. Right. And we would consider that sad that that's the depth of what they can connect to. But for them, that friendship might be a friendship where we're so deeply connected because our greatest value is that our team should win. Okay. However, let's, in general, when we talk about more meaningful things, we're not just talking about that. We're talking about things that are truly important and truly meaningful and truly above us and beyond us. And our shared connection to that is something that keeps us going. Every year there are guys who ask, I've made growth, I've made so many changes in my life, and there's been a refocusing about what's important to me. I'm going back. My friends may share different values, may not share my values anymore. Right. They're not my, but they're still my friend. Can I hang out with them? Can I not hang out with them? This is such a big discussion. Every year we go through this as preparation for going back. And one of the answers is, do my friends respect my change? Do my friends want what's good for me? So if they do, then we could work out a way to spend time together in something that we both enjoy. Right. Go to the ball game. Okay, I'm not going to go to the same places they go. I might want to spend a lot of my time differently than they're spending it. That's fine. Do I care about them still? Do I care about their well-being? If it was just that we hung out together, so, okay, whatever kept you hanging out, if that thing isn't there anymore, so then maybe the friendship isn't there anymore. But if you still feel a connection to them, so that means there's something deeper there. Maybe we haven't identified what it is, but there's something deeper there. Okay, so now the test of the friendship will be, can you only be friends if you're doing things that you don't want to do together? Or can you find a way that there are things that you could do together that don't drag you down and that don't take you to a place and that don't take him to a place where he's not willing to go? Now, very often it's not because the friends aren't really...
to the base medrash, and he won't
Yeah, but very often the friends are happy actually to be schlepped to the base medrash if there's a subject that can interest both and very interesting. Because they're not really against it generally. It's not they're anti it. It's just that wasn't where the path
Didn't
is.
work
And
for them, right.
sometimes if I have something that's going good for me and I could share it with another guy, that's great. But not to start lecturing to them and not to start, whatever it is. So in a sense, I think that the test of the friendship is what we had said in the beginning. Does he want what's good for me? Does he respect me? Does he, And now, a friend is a person that I could also ask sometimes to sacrifice on my behalf, and I sacrifice for as well. But if I have to sacrifice my values, we have a problem. I could sacrifice my comfort. I could sacrifice a preference. Sacrifice a value? Well, that's a little bit different. Like, let's say I'm on a diet, and I'm eating healthy, and it's important to me, and I want to be healthy, and I want to be healthful, and I exercise, and the only way I can go out with this guy is if we have chocolate cake together. Okay, so I'll sacrifice on my diet for a little bit for a bigger goal. What's the bigger goal? The big goal is spending time. And you know what? I also kind of like chocolate cake. Okay, so today the diet will be, a temporary rest, a temporary strike for the diet. Fine. I can only go to McDonald's with that. Not fine. I don't do that. That's a value as opposed to a preference, as opposed to a desire, as opposed to something I value, which is valuable to me. No, this is a value. This is part of my core of what I do and don't do. So a friend is not going to ask another friend to give up a value.
I can't remember the details, but I remember one of the Bachram telling me, like when he went back, his friend from back in the day who was still involved in all the stuff that Baruch Hashem he had moved to from, his friend was busy protecting him. Like, no, we can't go there because
friendship.
That's a real friend, right?
Yes.
Remember how beautiful it was there that even though that guy was still doing these things, but he didn't want you. He knew that you're fighting so hard to get to a better place. He didn't want to chas v'shalom do something to drag you down and make you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of times you hear stories
Right.
exactly the opposite.
Right. So
pushing
this
you.
is
Come on,
That's not friendship.
Right.
That's not friendship. Pushing me to betray myself.
Right. And also, it's about appreciating what maybe you don't have the value, but I do.
Right.
You have to be able to respect.
Right.
Who
You're
I
pushing
became
me.
and-
You're pushing
right.
me to betray myself. That's not a friend. That's not what a friend wants from me. The friendship of the Torah, the friendship, is David and Yonasan. That's a friendship where Yonasan is willing to give up his place as upcoming king of the nation for his friend. Incurring the wrath of his father who threw a spear at him. Along the way, right?
Whoa.
He's willing to do that, and the Torah calls the friendship of David and Yonasan an ava she'ena teluya b'davar, a love which is not dependent on anything else. 1 second. What do you mean it's not dependent on anything else? So why do you like him? And I put this question to you, Rabbi. Why do you like him? If it's not dependent on anything else, so what did it depend on?
That's very interesting. I understand it also. When we talk about Kadosh Baruch Hu's love for Klal Yisrael, is a love that's eternal. Avas Olam. Va'av, it's based on the pasuk Avas Olam Avtich. Every day in davening. It's funny, sometimes I ask a class, does Hashem love us? And people have to think about it, right? Right. So the word of love being forever, I believe, or what Apeshad Al-Kopan that talks to me, it's not time frame. It's not 5 years, 10 years, 100 years, like Hashem. It's situational frame. No matter what you did, Hashem still loves you. You may need to get punished for what you did because we have to set the record straight and you have to pay back what you did and so on and so forth. But Hashem's love for you, He wants you to be happy and to do well. Like His love for you is always there. That's Ava She'eino Tluya B'Davar. Why is His love for you always there? Because it's about your core. Your essence of who you are is good and wonderful. And like when I've known sometimes spoken to people that messed up, and when a wife could tell a husband, no matter what you did, not when it's coming from an unhealthy place because she's codependent upon him, like be'emet, she could say, no matter what you did, I still love you. You're a good guy, and you made a mistake. And I know that you regret making the mistake, and you wish you wouldn't have done it, and it's okay. And I've heard stories like that, and it makes people cry when you say it over the story with all the details. It's so beautiful. That's Ava She'eino Tluya B'Davar. There's no external thing though. Well, if you did that, then I can stop loving you. No, your essence is good, and I love your essence, and nothing.
That's exact. Yeah, exact. I was thinking. I mean, but davar is a thing. Mm-hmm. No, it's not dependent on a thing.
Beautiful. Right.
It's you.
Right. Your essence.
It's you. Yeah. So somehow I'm connecting to that essence, and it's you, and that's what I love. And so that doesn't change. That's eternal. That's your. It's you. So, at what stage does a person stop being him? The whole separate kind of question: does that exist? Does it not exist? Or how extreme? Whatever. Okay, we don't need to even at the moment go there.
Sense,
but that's what the love of David and Yonasan is. The love of who you are, and I see so clearly your qualities, the quality of who you are. And that quality of who you are, you're the person who should be king, not me. Because I care about the highest level over here of what's good. It's the Avas Hamayla. I care about what's good for the world, what's good for Klal Yisrael, what's good. If he should be the king, not me, I don't want to be the king because there's something bigger than me and bigger than him.
And that's part of our friendship gufa, like how much we could do for the world. And if you'll be a better king than me, then... Like, I'll be happier watching you be king than me being king.
Because it's not about what I'm going to get. It's not about what you're going to get. It's about what's best. What's best in the eyes of Hashem. What's best in the eyes of the world. And that's the highest Ava, where I'm willing to sacrifice this incredible thing because it's not about me.
Right. But I'm seeing it more like in the friendship element. Me and you together, because we're friends, like a husband and wife, whatever the husband does, it's the wife's part in that. If the wife does great things, it's the husband.
No question.
We're a team. So, like
Yonasan and David, it's a whole different conversation. But there was something they could do together, but with David as king.
Right. And that's. I think maybe just sort of to sum up today's conversation, we touched on so many beautiful points about friendship. Working together. I think the main yesod that she was giving over is that friendships are things of two people that care for each other and are there to help each other out. Like just clarifying a healthy relationship versus not a productive, healthy relationship. If it's just to have fun, or just, although there is an element of enjoying each other's company, but it's both way. We enjoy each other's company. I appreciate you, you appreciate me. If it's coming, one person's enjoyment at the expense of the other person's pain, then that's not, I would like to sum up, bring into it another element. I find it's fascinating that in the relationship between a husband and wife, like Hashem built it in such a way that all these different elements are all present within this relationship as a way of creating like such an all-encompassing, deep and powerful relationship. There's also chaver to'eles, like the husband has the ways that he helps the wife has the way that she helps the husband. Chaver amayla, where you want to build a home and bring Asher Shechina to the world, raise our children together. Chaver hanachas, which I think comes from the word of like noch, like having menucha, like inner peace, like spending time with somebody that you appreciate each other, and so on and so forth. And I think really ultimately all of this helps us have a deeper relationship with Hashem Yisbarach, when we feel that Hashem understands us, He's there for us, He wants us to be happy, He's there to help us when we need, and so on and so forth. That just...
Yeah, I think that bringing in the husband and wife and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's really summed up in the bracha. Sameach to samach, rejoice, re'im ha'ahuvim, like re'ach kamocha. Re'im ha'ahuvim, beloved friends. Kisamechacha yitzircha, like your Creator made you rejoice, began Eden mikedem. And this relationship is, like, as you said, can encompass all of the elements of friendship, and maybe at some point we need to do a deeper treatment of the friendship between husband and wife. But I think that the yesod that you're saying is absolutely correct, that it encompasses all these other elements of friendship so fully, in the best of circumstances. That's the goal.
Beautiful. Rosh Shiva, I cannot thank you enough. It was such a fascinating, informative, and great discussion. It gave so much more of a meat and potatoes to understanding good friendship. And thank you so much. Looking forward to be together again for nice things.